Welcome to the FMCG Guys podcast, live from Retail Media Summit UK by SMG. First of all, thanks to all the team at SMG for having us for the third year in a row. If you're, by the way, listening to this podcast, you can also watch it on YouTube by following the link in the show notes. As you know, I have two co-hosts, Christina and Efrain, and my guest today is Benni Lickfett, who's the Global VP of Breakthrough Innovation at Diageo, and introduced to me by Efrain. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Good to be here.
So what does leading breakthrough innovation mean at Diageo?
Yes, it's a very obscure title, and I had many of those.
I like how it sounds though.
It does, and what we did, we set up a breakthrough team in Diageo to go after those opportunities where we might not have the capabilities, or those that are rapidly emerging, where we need new approaches, new partnerships, new ways of thinking how we crack these big opportunity spaces. So it's a range of creative technologists, and we build new propositions, new business models, new experiences. So we go beyond the bottle as well and really look at the holistic consumer journey to see where we can add value.
Very cool. What was your background prior to this, by the way? How did you build up to end up doing this?
Not a very linear CPG background. So I was in various startup ventures as co-founder and CMO in the consumer fintech space and social impact space. I also did a bunch of innovation consulting in the US and Europe. And I really started with Diageo as a consultant helping with their marketing tech stack, and then really loved it and went in-house and had a chance to build a media futures team that focused on marketing tech, and then led our global digital innovation team. And now the latest iteration is that breakthrough innovation team.
Very cool. How long has it been now?
9 years.
Wow. So you've learned how to play the corporate game as well. And
that's it. I did not anticipate that, but it's actually a lot more fast-paced, intellectually challenging, and good fun than I had anticipated.
Yeah. Also, like you normally in these big companies, you have, like, I think Diageo is a great example. You have great people that work there as well, like very smart, inspiring, etc. No?
That's right, and amazing brands. So to innovate on brands like Johnnie Walker or Guiness that are over 200 years old and cultural icons, it's good fun.
And that's like a very cool thing that I think that we're talking a lot about in FMCG these days. It's like, how do you look after that heritage?
Yes.
And somehow make it relevant to consumers these days, no?
That's it, and we often in Diageo say we're standing on the shoulder of giants, people like Charles Tanqueray or Arthur Guinness. They were actually big entrepreneurs with a very big vision. And how do we continue that legacy, being true to those iconic brands?
Yeah. What do you think has changed in consumer behavior and market dynamics? I don't know what to say in the last 4 years, 5 years, 10 years.
So I think we see from a marketing perspective, the continued trend of the funnel collapsing, less linear journeys, consumers just not wanting to be broadcasted at or be treated as part of a big segment, but really having a lot higher expectation around personalization, cultural relevance, and getting everything immediately that they desire, and for brands really putting the work in to understand when they need what. That's obviously something across media, across retail media, that we see a big shift.
And when you say that the funnel has collapsed, how do you see that happening?
If you take any user journey, it's gotten more complex. If you take in our category an occasion that might be you going to a bar to meeting a friend for a drink. That starts with a WhatsApp about where you should meet. You might use a tool like City Planner to figure out how to get there, or call your Uber. And there are all these digital touch points along the way. But increasingly, you might already, when you book your table at a bar, pre-order a drink. So it's just increased complexity and optionality for consumers that don't fit that traditional funnel thinking as well as it used to.
And how are you integrating this technology that you have now these days to create personalization and elevate just the experience?
Yeah, so I think marketing technology plays a really big role across that as a foundation. I mean, it is data, it is understanding, it is relevance. So, your CDP or DAM or CMS, all these fun acronyms we use in marketing tech, they all play a really important role. And then my team specifically, we will look at where are some of the opportunity spaces, where we may be under-indexing, or where we think new technologies really can play a role to unlock that. If you think about discovery in our category, right, something like whiskey is still quite complex. If you don't know what it means if something is from the Highlands or is peaty, you're lost as a consumer. So we used the technology, we partnered with a company called Vivanda, which was a leading sensory data specialist. So we worked with our R&D team and Vivanda to figure out an algorithm where we could ask any consumer 10 or 11 questions about everyday flavors, like do you like bananas, do you like vanilla? Based on that, we create a personalized flavor profile and can match you with one of our products, right? And that's something we've done first on whiskey, and use scan from a menu in the aisle, and an e-com journey in an airport to get you to that right product match. So lowering that barrier to entry, giving you the confidence to try even a 30, 40 pound product. But we now took that into cocktails, we took it into tequila, and we're live in over 40 countries, 19 languages. And obviously that data helps us to understand the consumers better.
Do I scan a QR code and then I...
Yep, and we believe in, any access in, so it might be embedded in a digital journey, it might be an iPad in a retail environment, or a QR code or an NFC tap. So whatever we think is the most efficient way to allow users to access that particular experience.
Super interesting, no? Because I think that sometimes when we talk about innovation and in consumer goods, we directly think of new product launches.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's about what you're saying, marketing technology, and how you surround the brand with the right things so it can really shine, no?
That's it, and if you map out these consumer journeys, and we knew that even in an airport, one of the original insights was that a lot of consumers, if they go up to a salesperson or somebody approaches them in a duty-free shop in an airport, it makes them feel kind of misunderstood because they don't know the right codification. So to offer something that is self-served, where they can explore in their own time and you have the intelligence of the technology, it overcame that barrier in the consumer journey of getting to a good discovery.
So if you're in travel retail, and I actually know some people that work in travel retail, and one of our top guests is a chief customer officer of Avolta.
Great partner of ours.
Yeah, I imagine. So if you're in travel retail, you shouldn't speak to the you shouldn't go and
Well, if in travel retail, some consumers or some shoppers love it, right? Yeah. And they seek that personalized relevance, and there's always space for that. It's about understanding the ones who don't go on that journey, where does it break, and what can you offer to overcome that, right?
And it's funny, travel retail, because in a lot of situations, like in supermarkets, you'd be like, well, certain country likes this or doesn't like that. Whereas in travel retail, you can't really apply that because you have people from everywhere. But then to have that cultural sensitivity is a challenging one.
Absolutely.
How important is travel? I think you were just at a big event of travel retail, no?
I was in France at the duty-free,
in Cannes, right?
tax-free conference, which is a brilliant event where all our tax-free customers from around the world come. And I think some of the trends we talked about, they're mirrored there. It's a lot more experience-led travel retail. There's some categories like sports-led travel is absolutely huge. But again, it's sort of, how does that even start the moment you order the cab to go to the airport or take the train, to your shopping experience there, to your destination? How do we create better end-to-end consumer experiences that really make that passion point more memorable and offer that extra experience to consumers, to shoppers?
Why is travel retail important to you guys?
I think for our category, it's a great one, from a gifting perspective. So it's something around 25% of all shoppers in that duty-free space are on a gifting mission. And obviously, if you're traveling to Scotland, you bring back a beautiful bottle of whiskey. It allows you to do that storytelling as part of it, and it's a nice sharing moment. And I think people, for a lot of trips, they like to have memories they bring back home and extend that experience. So that's why it's a really important category for us.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, duty-free as well, or airports, because normally when you go into a shop, it's for product discovery or buying, whereas duty-free, a lot of times you just have to walk through it, no? So that's a good opportunity to gain attention of.
And that's one shift they talked a lot about, is really that more entertainment-led, experience-led shopping. You will always have those people who are just transactional. They say, I have 5 minutes between my gates, and I know the person I'm visiting loves Talisker, I'm going to pick up a bottle. But there are those who have that dwell time, and they want to be entertained, but also are open to buying something.
And it's a nicer concept of store than like a supermarket. So you can as you said, create that experience and so on. I'm curious to know, I travel a lot and I like to travel. Is there anything in the travel retail area that you learned or that you think is particularly exciting in terms of where things are going? I was actually, by the way, speaking before here with the head of retail media at United Airlines.
Okay.
So they're doing a lot of things as well, so it was interesting.
Yeah, and that airlines, cruise ships, that all part of that ecosystem, again, some great opportunities. So I think for us in personalization, there's a lot of opportunity space, a lot of people talking about it. One of the things we did recently is use Gen AI to allow shoppers to personalize their bottle. So if you think about generative AI, what it's great at, if you teach it 10 Van Gogh paintings, can create a new Van Gogh painting, right? You can do the same thing on brands. If you teach the Gen AI a brand world, you can open up that brand, allow a consumer to play with that to create their own artwork. So for Johnnie Walker, we trained it on Johnnie Walker Blue Label, and then on the artwork of a landscape artist, a Scottish landscape artist. And we then allowed consumers in shop to use the AI to create their own painting.
In shop
that they could put on the bottle. Now, that's obviously operating a printer on the shop floor is always difficult.
Yeah.
But we've also done different iterations where we just have one-off bottles where we use the AI to ensure that every bottle is unique.
And especially you coming from an entrepreneurial background and now being in a very big company, how are they innovating? Because we've seen like some companies doing BCs, some off-the-shelf solutions, sometimes building internal capabilities as well.
So I think there the key is it needs to be a portfolio approach. You need to do all of the above. The important thing is obviously understanding, building the capabilities that you can do these different things. I think one shift we've clearly seen is away from just an internal built approach. So it's really about knowing your strengths as an organization. We have some of the greatest liquid scientists in the world. We can create beautiful liquids and we have the great marketeers to do that. But when we go beyond the bottle, when we come to AI, blockchain technology, certain areas in sustainability, we need to partner with the best. And when you partner with the best, it can't always be a supply-based relationship or where you say that's a supplier and we pay this off the shelf. Often it's about creating IP together, or in areas like sustainability, you often need to bring others in the tent, and that might be retailers, that might be non-competitive CPGs to get to the right scale. So it's really about having an assortment of things you can do and being really cautious about what approach you use at what stage to innovate.
Is that sustainability, is that something that you're working on as well?
Yes, so there within Breakthrough we have a whole team that's focused on sustainability, on things like circular economy and alternative materials and other areas.
Interesting. You have a fun job, no? I guess it's something that must be difficult to prioritize and know where to go, no? Because there's a lot of like things that could be exciting potentially, but how do you pick your battles?
Yeah, so I mean that it needs to be very choiceful, you're right. So that's linking up with our global strategy teams and the C-suite and really understanding what are the key problems to fix or opportunity space to step in. And then we take a very evidence-led sort of think big, start small approach. And I think that's one of the big differences where it's not a theoretical exercise. If we have an opportunity or solution space, we'll run experiments to get more evidence, build the capabilities and keep chipping away at it. And then being really evidence-led and saying this is working, this is not, this is how we pivot, when do we shift. But yet it's difficult to stay on target and not get too excited by the new shiny toy.
How do you stay up to date on what's happening?
So, I mean, going to conferences, meeting with the venture capital ecosystem, who often have a different point of view, you see where the money is flowing.
So I guess that you have to go beyond what's happening in the industry, no? I think that you have to think.
And often, I think a lot of traditional research reports, there's a bit of leading the witness, so it's quite an internal conversation. So one of the principles we have at Breakthrough is to be fundamentally outside. And that means taking inspiration from other industries, from other categories, and really challenging our organization to reframe what game we're playing and how we think about strategy as well.
Very cool. Last question,
yes,
which is the one we ask all our guests, which is if you went back to yourself at the beginning of your career, what's the one piece of advice you would give yourself?
For me, it's that constant need to be not only curious, but to reframe and challenge the status quo. I think that's something often, even earlier in your career, you work with fantastic people, but you take their word as gospel. And I think the more experience you have, the more you notice there's always different sides to it. And I was fortunate I was in a startup where we had Sir John Hegarty as one of the board members. And he had that classic mantra of when everyone zigs, you need to zag. right? So he was always looking for what's the counter argument. If everyone is talking about this trend, how do you go against that? And I think in a world of AI, where a lot of these things, narratives are so accessible, it's all about how do you frame the questions, how do you fish in different pools, how do you look around it differently. So I think I would tell myself just to be brave and keep challenging the status quo.